Good morning, Mr. Clarke Broome. Are you there?
Yes, I am here.
There he is. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you Clarke Broome. Clarke, you and I probably known each other how long?
Over 30 years.
Over 30 years. We were in another business. And I must say, you're looking very svelte today. I know
Thank you.
you've lost 45 pounds. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
That
Oh
is,
my gosh, is that Clarke? I didn't even recognize him. Usually,
Hey,
yeah.
Nate, how you doing, man?
Clarke is an amazing human being. And believe it or not, I have learned so much, not only in the previous business, but in this business. He's teaching me the little things about discipline and focus that I have lacked for a long time. We are in an accountability group that we talk every night at 8 p.m. along with Richard. And I know a few of the other guys that are on the call, but you know what? I'm going to shut up. Clarke, would you just tell everybody briefly about yourself?
Sure, will do.
And we're going
And
to talk about the co-sponsoring as well.
okay, great. How much time do you want me to speak today?
Can you go for about 30 minutes?
Yeah, pretty close.
Okay.
And with questions and answers.
Yes, sir.
If you could make me co-host, I'm going to share a PowerPoint also.
Chris?
You have the floor, Clarke.
Great. I'll do that in a minute. But first of all, a little bit of my background, kind of like my 60-second story. I grew up in a real estate family. My mom was extremely successful in real estate. She was the first lady board president of the Board of Realtors up here in Placer County. Back then, it was kind of a man's world. It was in the 60s, and I think she was actually board president early in the 70s. And she outproduced them all. So, very determined. She raised all six of us. My father was killed in a car accident when I was 12 by a drunk driver. And so she had started real estate just a couple years earlier than that, and just was working it hard. I mean, she was extremely good. She was always there at our important engagements, graduations, games, all that kind of stuff. And just amazing lady. In fact, in her earlier life, she actually started the very first boutique in Beverly Hills. So she is quite the entrepreneur. So I kind of, and I say that to say that I picked up a lot of my entrepreneur from her. And so I was 19 when when she was lady board president, all this kind of stuff. When I got married and had our first child, I figured I probably should do something with my life. So I jumped 100% in real estate. I was actually I was actually a member of a union out at Aerojet General in Rancho Cordova, actually a company called Cordova Chemical, which was an affiliate. And I worked shift work. And so I went to Anthony School of Real Estate, got my real estate license, and jumped 100% into it. Back then, they wouldn't accept part-time agents. I had to go full-time into it. My mom recommended a company to go to. Went to that. It was a startup company. Great experience. I changed a few companies, starved for the first 18 months, basically struggled, and I started doubling my income every year. And here's what I learned. And we learned this in eXp in spades, and that is I really learned proximity. I learned to get around the people that are making things happen, not the people hanging out in the office with feet up in the desk, say the market's bad. I hung around with the people that are making things happen. One of them happens to be a guy named Roger Sitzler, who is the number one realtor in the area, number one office in the area. Learned from him quite a bit, but really learned, from my brokers and got around the right people. About 5 years in the process, became number one in GCI in our area, and decided, and that wasn't, anything special. I just worked my tail off. Nobody outworked me, and then I decided to open up an office with some other partners. We owned Northern California rights to a franchise. Did that for a couple years. Decided I did not like that. The business owned me rather than me owning the business. I mean, many of us who maybe own brokerages have realized that. And I actually made more money in my own production. And my own production supported the office. That wasn't a good deal. Went back to the office, I left. Had a chance to work with my mom for a couple years, which was awesome. About that same time, I met some extraordinary people who introduced me to another business, and still working real estate full time. Jumped in the other business, saw the power of passive income, of duplication, and really learned from the masters in that industry. And I became a real student of it. Man, I listened to the people who had fruit on the tree. I didn't listen to anybody, all their advice and all these great ideas they came up with. I listened to the right people, the ones who had the experience, who had the results. And over a period of a few years, I was about 32 years old, became financially independent. I worked real estate here and there, the way I wanted to do it without having to do it. And in early 2000s, got into commercial developing, commercial real estate, became number one in commercial real estate in the office I was a part of, which was Centex. And they had a real estate division back then. And then 2005, 2006 hit. We had about $52 million worth of projects. That's if they were built out. Lost them almost every one of them. And but the beauty of it is, I learned passive income, and I tell people that I lost the icing off the cake, but the cake was still good. I survived it fine. And I had mentored Brent Gove in our other business back when he was 19 years old. Met him through his dad. We became good friends, and he became very successful. I knew Kathy before Brent did. She was in one of our businesses, and he went, built a pretty good sized business. They got into real estate in the 90s. We know the story of Brent. I reconnected with him a few years ago. I'd been shown EXP, a couple times previous to actually getting involved. A couple years before getting involved, and a year before getting involved. Nobody sat down and showed me the model explained. They just talked about it. And honestly, the people that kind of shared it with me, didn't have a lot of credibility business wise. They're good friends and loved them, but not a lot of credibility business wise. And I knew Steve Hillier really well. I've known him for years. Known Richard Hendrickson. Knew Nick. I mean, a lot of that we've known. And then I sat down with Don Peach, my business partner. Steve Hillier dropped in, said they were moving their whole 214 agent office over to eXp, and a couple years prior to that, Steve was not interested in eXp, and the fact that he was interested in moving over piqued my interest. As we were leaving, I text Brent, hadn't talked to him in a little while, and he happened to be in town visiting from Puerto Rico, and so we got together Thursday morning for breakfast, and then went to the team meeting afterwards, and I watched Brent speak, and it was like pure Brent, okay, and just fired me up, and then he invited me to an event. This is the key thing. I'm putting a couple points in here of tips. He invited me to an event immediately, which happened to be a surprise birthday party for Glenn Sanford, but was billed as a mastermind, so Glenn would be there. And it was at Charles Krug Winery. I know many of us on this call were there, and went to it. And over 10 people that were at that event had been in my business in the past. And I felt, okay, Lord, you're telling me something here. And so left there, went to EXP Con, which was in October. Transferred my license on my birthday, October 27th, and haven't looked back. What got me fired up, because I've been in the real estate business over 40 years. I got my license within a month of Tom Daves. I've known Tom for a long time, and we kind of were worked together in real estate. When he was Western National and Bohannon back then, all sorts of stuff. And so 1977 was when I got my license. And so when I saw this model, I couldn't unsee it. I said, "Wow." And I'd been kind of complacent up to that point. Honestly, complacent, pandemic, we were doing fine financially, and and I was sleeping in until 10 or 11 in the morning because I didn't have to really get up. And when I saw this model, got energized, went to eXpCon, sat down with Brent, kind of laid it out, worked with Steve and Don and my business partner. Didn't really do much until, this was October 27th, really didn't do much until about February or March because of some things going on personally with Diana, my wife, and, her health and some other things. And just what really fired me up, I saw, wow, we can offer agents what they've never had before. Ownership, all the things we know about in EXP. And, the co-sponsoring has just made it better. It's a game changer. I don't know if you ever heard about game theory, but change one rule in the game and the whole game changes. And I think that's similar to what co-sponsoring has done. So I'm going to share my screen and walk through this. And I just kind of put this together, actually yesterday. Anyway, so let me put this here. Okay. Can everybody see that okay? Great. Okay, good. Excellent. So scaling with alignment. And what that means is this just really, hey, you all are leaders. I mean, you're changing people's lives. And I think what this can do, it solves some issues that we've dealt with in sponsoring in the past. And so today, game changer, it's a bridge to alignment, relationship, and growth. And really, if you look at it, we create strategic partnerships between leaders, collaboration, not competition. I tell you, when we were in different areas and different times, I mean, you'd be competing against the agent in that area or the influencer in that area. Well, now we can collaborate and work together. And it's a win-win model. Agent, sponsor, and co-sponsor all benefit from this process. And, so we can scale smart, just not fast, or not just fast. Leveraging combined strengths. And I've already had some experience with this. I actually got started with it prior to May 1st. When it was announced, I discovered that you can actually sponsor people and then add the co-sponsor later on. So we did that during, April and until it launched in March. So we had people ready to go by the time it launched. And so why it's a game changer? Well, agent attraction and alignment, not just recruiting, but making those, creating meaningful connections. Now, one of the things I recommend is whenever you go to a major event or any event, build those relationships with other agents in other areas because you're going to build that relationship. You're going to find out, if they would be the right fit for a co-sponsor and just really build that relationship with them. But local support matters, geographical, and I believe, as Brent believes, I believe that co-sponsoring is a geographical play. Now, there are some exceptions to that I'll talk about, but it is a geographical play and creates collaboration rather than competition. And boots on the ground in the area. How many people have sponsored somebody in another area and really could not get traction out of it because you weren't there? I mean, I've lost, I can't tell you how many agents that way. And this solves that problem. And so you leverage zones of genius. What does that mean? You're in, different areas have, specialists in those areas. You can link them up with, have them co-sponsor the people, and it makes a partner with mentors in that area. And then time compression. I mean, you think about this business is all about duplication. You want to make sure that everything you do duplicates. Because if you're the only one that can do something, you'll be the only one doing it. And so your business can be very limited that way. This is a very duplicatable system because you can put people in contact with people in that area, local offices. I kind of look for local offices in a lot of areas. Not that is absolutely necessary, but I find that it helps. And so the time compression, you can create momentum quickly because they have somebody boots on the ground that's helping them and they have incentive to help them. See, in the past, we were able to, because we're such a collaborative group, you'd have, like the Massey's in Atlanta. Oh, yeah, they can plug in and just, come to our meetings, all that kind of stuff. But it kind of gets lost in translation if there's not a real incentive for them to do it. They co-sponsor them, all of a sudden the game changes because they're now personally sponsored by that person. And we know what a game changer that can be. And so success stories, I just share a couple of them, and this is pretty recent. Tara Diaz in New Mexico, she's a top agent there, 5-time icon. I met her through an event, actually met her through Build last year. And I happen to have leads in that area. And now we're 3 for 4. We connected because of Tara and boots on the ground. And one of the things I do when I do a presentation with a co-sponsor or with a co-sponsor in mind in an area, I get their bio, I get their information, and I put them right on my slide deck. And in fact, in Tara, she has a video, a little short video, a minute 55-second video, just talking about her and what she does in her area. And so when I'm going through I show the model explain. I throw on the video and I have some other slides that I go with them to kind of solidify some few things. And so I have that on there. So right now we have Patricia, who's just getting started this week. And she actually was supposed to do her join app on, on Friday, but she had something come up. So I'm doing it on Wednesday morning. And so these are all in process. So Patricia is a very experienced agent just outside of Albuquerque, but she's a real connector. She has connections. She's getting her license in Miami, Florida. She's getting her license in Nevada and Texas, or not Texas, Arizona, or excuse me, it's just Arizona. And so we painted the picture, showed the total model explained, painted the picture to her about being able to sponsor all over the country, all 50 states and 27 countries. She got excited about it. And now, even though she's not going to transfer her license until July, we said, well, why don't we get you started? Let's do a placeholder agreement so she can go out there and prospect people and bring agents in while she's in the process of getting her license in Miami. And that worked out really good. Amelia, same kind of situation with a independent broker in Albuquerque, sharp lady, probably does 15 transactions a year, just looking for mentorship, looking to take her business to another level, connected with, and this would not have happened without the co-sponsor. Co-sponsor, very, very visible. Tara is very visible in Albuquerque. She does videos all the time, and she just connected with her. And that, plus, I sent her Tara's video that she did at a Level Up seminar in Hawaii a year ago, and really talked about what she does in production. So Amelia, Greg's another individual, more of an investor, but really doing a lot of real estate transactions. Was an independent broker, and again, the co-sponsor made a huge difference. Then Las Vegas, everybody knows Wendy. She's coming in this Thursday and Friday to do an event in Sacramento and one in El Dorado Hills. Same scenario. Agent over there got through a lead source, started talking with them, and that one hasn't completed yet. He did a joint app, but hasn't transferred his license yet. But that will be under Wendy as a co-sponsor. Jeff Hamilton, same situation. A lot of people probably know Jeff. Very successful down in Southern California. Got an agent referral from Palmdale. Not much going on, but Jeff is active in Palmdale. He hooked her up with a co-sponsor of Palmdale. Richard, this is a local situation. So Pine Grove's up by, Sutter Creek. And that's a good distance for me. I live in Lincoln. And this person wants to get started, had 9 years in the mortgage industry, 8 years in the title industry, showed the model, explained to him, all excited, and then connected with Bo. Bo just started with eXp, went to Cabo this year and got his independent brokerage right there in Sutter Creek, started with eXp, and now we're connecting. In fact, we just did the joint app, license is transferring today. And that's a local situation where it's 2 hours from me, but Bo has an office right in Sutter Creek. So again, it can kind of solve some local issues too. Otherwise, I'd be in competition with Bo, and now we're collaborating together. And so it worked out really well. And the agent who we're sponsoring had already done his research on eXp, but was looking for boots on the ground locally. Ethan and Renee, same. This is an interesting situation. Ethan, brand new with eXp up in El Dorado Hills. In fact, he'll be there this Thursday, and knows his cousin. His cousin, very successful agent in Vallejo, and called up his cousin Renee and says, I just got involved with eXp, and says, oh, people have been talking to me about eXp for years. She has a very good friend that was talking to her about eXp, but he says, your family, I'm going to join with you. Well, in the process of doing the application, she says, I'm really reluctant. This is a very close friend of mine down in Vallejo. She shared eXp with me, and I said, well, how would you like to have both Ethan and Renee? And he said, can I do that? I said, absolutely. So her friend down in Vallejo is going to co-sponsor, Ethan's going to sponsor. So it solved it like a family conflict almost. And so rather than competing or her being torn between her friend and her cousin, is now solved the situation. And so now it's working really well, and we're just getting her started right away. Massey's, we've worked on a couple co-sponsors with James and Tam Massey in Atlanta, same type of situation, got some leads over there. One of them was through an agent, ended up with one person who's actually not a part of eXp now, but we had another agent there that was a referral that now Tyrell is a name when we're plugging into Massey's in Atlanta. And then Matt Smith and Randy in Missouri. We've been working in Nick's on here, and Steve, we've been working with a guy named Randy in Missouri for over a year. And one of the missing pieces was, how do we get them connected locally? Well, Matt Smith's very successful. He's in Missouri. Many of you maybe know of him, but he's actually came to spoke in Sacramento not too long ago. And so now we connected Matt on a phone call with Randy, because Randy's already seen the model explain everything, and and Matt was, Randy was kind of choosing between a guy who left Coldwell Banker where he's at and went to EXP, but yeah, not anyway. What worked out, Matt was a better fit, and so now we sponsored him, and so I have one with the commercial situation. I've been working with the guy for, gosh, it's been almost a year down in Palm Springs area, commercial agent, and having a little bit of challenge with DRE with his license renewing and everything, but he's got that solved. He's getting a license in Nevada, and just recently put him on a three-way call with Paul Frank. And so Paul Frank will be the co-sponsor in that because even though I have some experience in commercial, that's not my area of expertise anymore. And Paul is wonderful, just as Frank mentioned too. So with Ethan and Renee, which is kind of a special application, it solved the situation between, family situation, friend and a cousin. Okay, solve that situation. Solution, co-sponsoring, honoring both relationships. Because really, everybody benefits in the situation. It's a total collaboration. So joining with clarity and confidence without any conflict to it. And so kind of the leadership playbook, stay in your lane, connectors connect, builders build. I'm a connector, okay? I'm not in production. And, I've done a lot of production in my past, but I've focused totally on agent attraction. My business partner, Don, is more on the production side. So now I can connect freely 50 states. Incidentally, co-sponsoring started international. It started in international first. It's been around for about a year international. And what a difference maker, because now you got a foreign country, which is a huge difference. And now you can, bring them. And in fact, some of the managing brokers of the country would be a good co-sponsor. Like we have Olga in Spain. We have, or not Spain, but Poland. We have, I forget who's in Spain now, but Felix Bravo. We can fit them in all in there and really reward those people for, really sewing into our agents. And so you stay in your lane, layered support, got multiple access points. They're not dependent on you all the time, especially if you're in a state and they're in a different state, you don't understand what's going on sometimes with the legal things and so forth in a state. And it creates retention. I mean, when somebody is plugged in and is a part of a group in their local area, there's a much higher retention. Of course, co-sponsoring is new, but we just know from our experience it's going to be a great thing. And then time freedom. They're boots on the ground with the transactional part, helping the co-sponsor helping that agent, which frees us up to do, and we can just build a relationship and keep it. Now, here's one of the things I highly recommend, and even though it's starting new, is that really stay in contact with the person that you're co-sponsoring under somebody. Build that relationship, and talk to them about agent attraction. One of the things like with Patricia in Albuquerque, along with Greg in Albuquerque, they're leaning towards agent attraction more than anything. They saw the vision of it. So even though they're connected locally from a transactional production standpoint, I'm working with them on the agent attraction side. And they saw what we did with co-sponsoring, which fires them up to do the same thing in co-sponsoring. And so let me hang on a second. Something just popped up on my computer I got to get rid of. Hang on a second. There we go. Okay. Oh, there we go. Back online. Okay, good. So for all the reason I'm just stating here, it's just a playbook. So tactical implementation. So execute co-sponsor agreement. Now you execute right now, the way it works right now, they transfer their license, then you execute the co-sponsor agreement. You execute it on their Okta site. You go up there and just say documents and co-sponsor agreements there. I've done it with just using a co-sponsor agreement. That will work also. But when you do the formal onboarding, they may have to adjust it because sometimes the co-sponsor doesn't show up. Set up three-way strategy calls. One of the most effective things is first I meet the agent, talk to the agent, find out exactly where they come from. And at the end of that call, I'll see if, arrange this in advance. So like a three-way call, I arrange in advance for the co-sponsor to be on that call at the end of the call. After I've shown them all to explain, and sometimes they're on the whole call, okay? Share success stories. Story sell, facts tell. That's why I shared the stories here. They're actual implementation of the co-sponsoring, and you develop a seamless system. Like what I was talking about, I have the videos and coaching, all that kind of stuff on the co-sponsoring on my slide deck. So, like in the Massey's, I have the Massey's information. Wendy Goss in Vegas, I have her information on my slide deck. I have Tara's information on a slide deck. I have Paul Frank and a little bit about commercial on a slide deck. So any area that I'm going to be using a co-sponsor in, I have, kind of their story. And I share that story with them, how successful they are. And, that five-time icon agent, or like with Paul Frank, I mean, he's number one right now in eXp commercial. And he's also on a commercial advisory committee. So I share those stories with them to kind of lock them in and build that relationship with them. And I've just found that it's a huge game changer. I mean, now you can think globally more with the business. And so next wave of growth, you know what the strategy is for catching a wave? You got to paddle before it's here.
Swim out to it.
Swim out to it. You got to paddle before it's here. And I believe this, among other things, are going to create the largest wave we've seen in eXp. But now's the time to paddle. Now's the time to get your hands in the water, start paddling towards the wave and catch the wave. It's too late when the wave hits you. When the wave hits you, it'll pass you by. Don't miss this wave. When you catch that wave, the crest of the wave, it'll take you on into victory in this business. So geographical advantage, obviously talked about that. Build relationships with leaders in other cities. I recommend you do that at eXpCon, at Build, at the events here locally, although they're local agents mostly. And built to last. It's not who you bring in, it's who you build with. It's not just sponsoring. Once you sponsor them is when the work starts. That's when you connect with the co-sponsor, you get working with them, and you have that collaboration. You stay in contact with the co-sponsor, you stay in contact with the person that you co-sponsored under somebody, build that relationship, and look for the opportunity for the agent attraction side of it. And what I mean by that is that everybody knows somebody. They bring in a successful realtor, he's going to know other successful realtors. And what I do, you don't talk to them about, hey, go out and recruit this person. You say, hey, you're going to have a transaction on the other side with them. You're going to talk to them. They're a good friend. Share the model with them. Take the video, sit down with them and share it with them. And if they're uncomfortable doing that, hey, put on a three-way call. Find them, find me. Plug them into me. I'll take it from there. And that's how you're going to drive depth in an organization, and you build a fire in the basement with people. A lot of these people, are in depth from me, although several of them personally sponsored that I mentioned today, but some of them are in depth. And I didn't mention the one with Kelly and forgot about that one. Kelly in Tampa. She's a commercial agent. So we got a referral for a commercial agent, just put her right under Kelly personally. But then we got referrals from some residential agents. Well, she's a commercial agent. So we connected with Amy Torres, very successful in Tampa, Florida, Clearwater Beach, Tampa, Florida, very successful. And now we have two agents that she has now co-sponsored. They're sponsored by Kelly, who's a commercial agent, but she's not residential. So we found a residential agent and plugged them under the residential agents, and they're so happy. I mean, it's just, the first one was a lady named Alquasia. We sponsored her. She's very excited, plugged into Amy. Amy just, is like a mother hen, took her in, just really worked with her. Well, Alquasia had a friend from her other brokerage, Deli, and now we just signed her up on Friday. So again, there's endless possibilities with it. So with that, and I see Nate on here too. Nate, it's great to see you, man. I really enjoyed that dinner. You took us down to that restaurant, and was it Argentine restaurant?
That was in Pasadena. Yeah, it was the Argentinian place.
Yeah, oh man, that was great. So much fun. Yeah, you did an awesome job at the seminar, and of course up here in Sacramento, you did a phenomenal job. And I know we've been in contact, and we're going to work out some co-sponsor things down in your area with you.
I've been learning all about it, so I'll be in touch.
Awesome, man.
Clarke, do you mind if we opened up for questions?
Absolutely. Let me stop sharing my screen. There we go. Got it.
Okay, everybody. He's right in front of you. What a story. Man, I am very excited about this. So anybody have anything for Clarke?
I have a question. Can I ask one real quick, Clarke?
Sure, Nate. Anytime.
So I really love the co-sponsor idea. I'm down here in LA, and now we can go and we can network all these with these agents from around the country, and we feel like we're not separated. I think it's the most brilliant thing eXp has ever introduced. So that's really great. People could send people to me in LA. I could send them to Miami or whatever. But I did run into one, and I just thought of Johnny. Well, when you just made the comment, you're sponsoring somebody with a fast forward movement, which was Dan and Kyle that does that, which is awesome, and they have some great training. But a couple times people have tried to talk me into making them the main sponsor and me the co-sponsor, even though that I brought the person. But I just wanted to say, what's your thoughts on that, Clark? And because what
I,
that does, what I found out is that takes away my upline from getting,
yep,
so that would take away Frank and Elgin, who's done so much to help me for 20 years. And yeah, it would give me a co-sponsoring spot, but it also takes away my frontline qualifier, which I wouldn't want to give up, right?
yep.
Because we need those frontline qualifiers, even though right down. So I would just want to hear Clark as an expert in what you do. My advice to the group would be, hey, if you want to if you bring somebody to the table, make sure you're the main sponsor. Don't give up your regular sponsor. Because I did have somebody to say, hey, if you want me to be in your group, if you want to come to my group, you have to make me the sponsor and you the co. And I thought that was kind of, but what's your
Yeah.
thoughts on that,
I
Clark?
honestly, unless there's real extenuating circumstances, I don't think it's a good play. I think it's really, I understand why people are doing it for the obvious reason. And I don't think it's a good play. I think it's taking people away from their group. I mean, if you're the originator of the prospect and you're the originator of the prospect, I believe always in every situation, I have not seen an exception to it yet, is you put them under a co-sponsor. And
And I wasn't meaning Johnny was doing that. I mean, it made me think
I
of what
understand.
he could have been saying, which I don't know that's what he was saying. But I did have somebody approach me with that idea, and I'm like, I thought, oh,
So
maybe that's a good idea. But then I thought, well, wait a minute, what about my guys that I've been working with for 6 years? You know what? They're not
yeah,
going to get, I don't like that idea.
I agree. And it's usually big influences in the area or in EXP that have systems in place and everything, and they don't want to lose, that if somebody in their group co-sponsors somebody, they don't want to lose that person. They rather gain the person. And that's what that in my opinion, that's the play. And I don't agree with it, honestly. And but I mean, obviously people can do what they want to do, but I think it's I've been building networks for over 40 years. And if you want dissension in a network, pull stuff like that, in my opinion. And because it breaks relationships. And this is relationships always come first. And you have a relationship with your business partners who brought you into the business. And I believe that should be honored. I don't see really an exception to it. And if that's the play they want to make, I'd find another co-sponsor personally.
Great. That's what I thought too. I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I'm not, it's a sensitive subject, because of some of the players in the marketplace, but I'm a very strong believer in strengthening. I believe that the line of sponsorship is the strength in this business. I think it's your lifeline in your business.
Anybody have a question for Clark?
Hey Clark, how you doing?
Good. How you doing,
Hey,
Johnny?
good, good. Remember me?
I do.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I guess
Yeah, I
I had
remember
that
you from
question that.
Albuquerque.
Yes, sir. Yeah, with Tara. Yeah,
Yeah,
coincidentally
yeah, we
ran
had a
into
great
you.
great dinner that night.
Yes, sir.
It was fun
That's
how we
awesome.
snuck into that party.
Right? VIP status, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was nice. That was like a classical movie scene. Oh,
it
there was
was.
me.
It was.
And the guy's all like, I'm sorry, sir. He's like, this is my event. I paid for all this.
I happened to meet the guy who put the event on, who
Right.
actually was very successful from Australia, and he had a few drinks, and so we're at the front, seeing if we could get into this restaurant that we wanted to go to, but it was a private party, and so the lady at the door said, "You can't come in." Well, we caught the owner, the guy who put on the party, says, "Oh no, they're my guests. Let them in." So they let us in. So
Yeah, that was casual. Yeah, so I'm in the same predicament, right? We're doing the co-sponsor, sponsor, and how does that flow to the upline and downline versus the
yeah,
co-sponsor and the sponsor?
well,
Where does it
just
start? When does it stop? And what's the timeline to do it? Because I'm probably going to be labeled the co-sponsor. So, kind of give that whole vision on how that works. I got a few different thoughts on different stuff because I've watched the line. It just doesn't make 100% sense. And I don't know if it's 100% like established yet because I hear two different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, did you generate the agent? Is the agent your prospect?
Yes.
Okay. Here's how it works. The sponsor, when you sponsor somebody under a co-sponsor, they're now on your second level. Okay. So now you get 2 through 7 tiers of compensation. You'll pick up the stock and the FLQA. The
So I won't get them as I give up that right? The
No,
actual
no.
person.
So the co-sponsor would get the $4,000 incentive. You know, that first year incentive, if they're a capping agent, they get the $4,000. They pick them up as an FLQA. But you also would pick up the stock and the FLQA as the sponsor. The co-sponsor would pick up the $4,000 bonus, and then the second year would just go back to what it normally is. Now, since that agent that you're putting under a co-sponsor is on your second level pays higher than your first level. How that is aligned, the co-sponsor is actually, if you look at your line of sponsorship, the co-sponsor shows up right underneath you as their co-sponsor. So they're aligned with you in your line of sponsorship. Now you don't pick up any rev share off their business outside the person that you sponsored underneath them, but they're aligned with you. That's how they do the accounting of it.
Okay, hold on. Go rewind back to the rev share part. Explain that one more time. You don't
The
pick
rev
up.
share. So when you sponsor under a co-sponsor, the rev share is now on your second level because in between you is the co-sponsor between you and this person you just sponsored. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
What if I'm the co-sponsor?
If you're the co-sponsor, they're on your front level.
So I get the rev share, and then also anybody they bring in levels down the rev share.
Yes. But here's the challenge with that is that your upline, the people that brought you in,
Yeah.
will get none of it.
Yeah.
And so that I think is a
Yeah.
divisive thing.
But can I ask you, Clarke, I just want to make sure one thing's clear. If you have a client, let's say I have an agent I'm bringing in,
Yeah.
and I go and I make Clarke, I make you the primary, and I take the lesser the co. I do not get the FLQA. The primary gets the FLQA.
That's correct.
So Johnny, what you would be missing, and that's what I thought I heard you say. If you
Yeah.
went into a group that's promising you, because I've already heard it, this is where I'm coming from, I'm not mentioning any names. Listen, make me the sponsor and I'll put you in my group because that's what's happening.
Yeah.
The big producers are saying, hey, put me because they're trying to build their lines across
They're trying to build the FLQAs.
they're trying to build it. And Johnny, right now, eXp's pays all the way down. But before, you have to have 5 to get on level 2, 10 to get on level 3, 15 level 4. You'll screw yourself. So you'll be giving all of your people. Don't you, if you want somebody to help you that's not in your line, and Clarke, I don't mean to jump this. I just have
No,
I got
you're right.
approached. So yeah. So I know what Johnny's talking about. You want to be with this group so that whatever group it is, I'm not saying any names. So they're saying but that takes out all of you'll never make any frontline qualifiers.
Right.
You'll never get paid more than one level down. It's not good. You want to be the main sponsor.
So let me ask you this. They're saying that you can adjust your FLQA later. Is that true? Like you can take somebody and make them your FLQA?
Yeah, you can, but it's very difficult to do, and it's because you can allocate your FOQA as opposed to your rev share. The challenge with it is just very very difficult to implement, very difficult to do, and it has not worked out really well.
Clarke, I just put it in the chat. Just a quick, I snapped it from the toolkit. There's a picture if anybody wants to look.
Oh, good idea.
What the rev share with the co-sponsorship and what everybody gets with the primary sponsor and the co-sponsor.
Excellent.
Maybe
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, we got time for one more question.
Clarke, I got a question, if you don't
Sure.
mind. Well, first of all, this is Tom. Let me put on my camera so you guys can see me. I'm a huge Clarke Broome fan.
I think we lost you.
Tom, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. As I said, I'm a big Clarke Broome fan. I've been associated with Clarke for many years through a similar business model where he met Brent and Kathy Gove. So I'm just so grateful that Clarke, he's nothing if he's not consistent. And I think that's what you've seen today is just his consistency through building this model, even just mastering the co-sponsoring thing, which is brand new. So Clarke, thank you. My
You're
question
welcome.
for you is regarding the co-sponsorship. First of all, I want to join. I want to get huge in this business just so I can attend all the dinners and parties that you're going to, which is just pretty darn phenomenal.
It is.
They're way too. They sound way too good. But with the co-sponsorship, if I've got someone, say in Minnesota, and I know no one in Minnesota, is my first step obviously to make connection with them, show them the model, explain, and show them interest in that they want to join. But then my next step then would be to vet EXP agents in Minnesota, and then choose one that I think would be a good fit for them. And then do I approach them? Do I have Brent or you or my senior business partner approach them? And how do what's the order of solidification to make that happen?
Here's what I found works best is even before I get on a Zoom call with that prospect, and I know I've done my research. You can either go to Corded or you can do, homes.com, find out what area they're in, what kind of level of production, that kind of thing. Then I reach out. If I know somebody in that area, like I know several leaders in different areas, but if I don't know somebody in that area, I immediately text Brent and I say, do you know a good co-sponsor in the area? That's where we found Amy Torres over in Tampa, and where we found, oh gosh, I forget who else. Matt Smith over in, which I knew Matt, but I forgot where he lived actually. And, but so Brent said, oh yeah, hey, Matt, check with Matt Smith in Missouri. So that's exactly what we did. And so I try and get them on the call when I show the model explain, because I think it adds that extra credibility and boots on the ground. And, they may even know the agent in the area too, which I've had happen. And so I try and get them on the third way call right at the end of the call. Or if they can be on, earlier than that, that's great. Because then I kind of wrap it up with, hey, here's how it would work. We'd both work with you. Matt Smith, very experienced in the area, huge organization, and he can help you personally, build your business.
Neat. Okay, so it sounds like just in the conversation with that new agent, you're seeing if there's an interest, at least open-minded to look at the model explain. But then when you actually do the model explain Zoom call, you have Matt Smith or the local EXP agent on the call, or at least at the end, to solidify it and then take it a step at a time from there.
Yeah. Now, if they're not available to make it, I still have them on. If it's just somebody like Matt Smith, I'll pull up his bio, and get a picture of him and his bio, or even ask him for one, because a lot of agents already have it in place, and I'll put it on my slide deck. So after I show the model explain, which is built into my slide deck, I'll put that on and say, and I actually have all my senior business partners on the slide already. I have Steve, I have Brent, I have, Steve, Richard, Brent, Sheila,
Gene Frederick,
Rob Flick. I already have them all on my slide deck to show them. And then I also have, Paul Frank on there too, for almost every one of my presentations. So.
And Clarke, did you create those slide decks from Canva, or are those out there already in the EXP world?
I actually had a graphic artist created it before Gamma was available. Now I use Gamma. In fact, the slideshow I just showed you, it put together that, now I edited it, but it put together that slideshow in like 10 minutes.
Makes you look really good.
Yeah. Normally, literally, when I do a half an hour talk, I probably invest 8 hours into producing it.
Nice. Great. And is there finally, I'm hoping this is recorded, Frank, because I want to watch it again.
It is.
Is there, wonderful. Frank, Clarke, is there another? I thought there was another EXP video that talks about co-sponsoring, either by John Sy or someone else.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Tom. I was going to mention it in my presentation. I forgot. There's one by Brent Gove, which is really well done. And then there's one by Russ Lagan.
And we can just search that on YouTube?
Yeah, if you go, another thing I forgot to put on here, which I'll add on, because I'm going to teach this over and over, is there is a EXP toolkit, co-sponsoring toolkit. And it has Russ Lagan's video on there and a full explanation of what co-sponsoring is.
Nice. And where do we find that at?
You go to EXP.
Oh, someone just put it in the chat, I think.
Yeah.
Michael just put it on there.
Great. Excellent.
Thanks, Michael.
And that really covers it really well.
Cool.
Okay. All right, everybody. We went a little bit over, but can I get a thumbs up on Clarke's presentation?
Oh, well, thank you.
Oh, man.
Sweet.
Just amazing. Clarke, thank you so much. It's the most
My
people
pleasure.
we've had on the call all because of you, brother.
Hey, well, thank you very much. And I had to follow up Tony King. So he's a tough one to follow.
Yes, he is. Yeah. If you ever need to get a hold of him, I know him and Elgin have become good friends. And
Oh yeah, I
yeah,
love Tony. He's helped me out a bunch of times in Texas and outside of Texas because he was originally in charge of growth in Texas. Now he's a part of the total growth team, and but really good people.
yeah. I just reached out to him on Workplace and he responded right away. I
Yeah,
didn't even expect that. But
yeah.
everybody, thank you. Thank you, Clarke. This is
You're
being
welcome.
recorded. This is going to go out to the winner's circle when Chris is done with it. Thank you so much. And we'll see you here next week at 10 o'clock with a different speaker. Bye, everybody. Have a
Right.
good
All right,
week.
thank
Thanks,
you.
Frank.
Thank you,
Great
Frank.
to be with you all.
All right.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Clark.
Frank. Take
You're
care, everyone.
welcome.